everyone. I'm Erin Benavides from Silver River Museum, and we are so happy that you could join us for Creature Feature.
And I'm Alan Ivory, and I'm with Florida Museum with a program called Scientists in Every Florida School.
And Alan, I'm going to screen share because I think we have some shout outs from our last Creature Feature. Tell us about them.
Yes, we have Miss Smith's class, and my favorite thing about their class's handout, so they did brown eyes and they had red eyes, which shows male and female box turtles. It's a really neat feature they put on their turtles. And then we also have Miss Johnson Allen's class, and they all did really neat facts about these box turtles, how they can close up, and what kind of eyes they have, what the shell looks like. I really think they did a wonderful job on their handouts.
All right. And remember, teachers, we have handouts every week to help support learning in your classroom. So this week's creature is going to be a tarantula, and we have a great book and a very special guest today. And the handout looks a little like this, where your students can use descriptive words and phrases to describe tarantulas. And the backside is optional, but there's some phrases from the book. And second grade teachers, I know idioms are an important part of your ELA standards. There are some idioms found in this book, and they're included here. So if you haven't gotten there yet in your learning, save this handout and revisit it because we're going to post it to YouTube. All right. So without further ado, I think we should get to our book. Today's book, let me get rid of, hold on, is K-Bug Radio, Up Close and Personal, an interview with Harry the Tarantula. So friends, we are at a radio station today. There it is. Good day to you. You are listening to Up Close and Personal, and I am Katie Didd on K-Bug Radio, bringing you the latest chirp. And what a fine day it is, for we are fortunate to have here with us in our studio, Harry Spider, who is a tarantula from California. Harry has been so kind to take time out of his busy schedule and spend a few moments chatting with us. Now, Harry, I understand you had a very frightening experience a while ago. Would you mind telling us about it? Oh, sure. I didn't mean to scare her, but she took me by surprise. I lost quite a lot of hair on my back because of it. Pretty soon, I'll be bald. Look at me. I'm still shaking. What do you mean? Oh, a little girl named Laura Weber scooped me up into an empty bottle. When she opened the lid, I looked up out of the bottle with my 8 eyes and saw a huge face staring right at me. I nearly jumped out of my skin. What did you do? I did what any tarantula would do. I leaned back on my hind legs, lifted my front ones up, and opened my fangs in horror. Then I reached around with my front legs and rubbed off some hairs off my back and tried to fling them at her. Why did you do that? Well, I'll tell you, it usually makes scary animals go away. I think my hair irritates them. Have you ever looked closely at tarantula hairs? They're really very nice. I'm quite proud of them. Could I look at one now? You mean like take one out? No, I couldn't. I never know when I might need them. And I have shed my skin for the last time, so I won't have any more hair. I hardly have any left now. Do you know why your hair might irritate someone? I think it's the barbs. Each one of my hairs has teeny, tiny barbs. Animals breathe them in, then they snort and snort. Ha! Good luck making a meal out of me. And here's a close-up of his hairs. How interesting. Perhaps you could tell us why you shed your skin. Because I was growing. I'm now 3 inches across, the biggest I'll ever be. I understand my cousins down south grow even bigger. They can be about 10 inches across. They also catch and eat mice. Ah, what a life. Here's Harry. Go, Harry, go. He's in an arm wrestling contest with his big cousin. And what do you eat, Harry? Mostly crickets, but I also like to eat beetles, grasshoppers, and millipedes. Excuse me, I just ate a cricket a little while ago. And here's Harry saying, nice to meet you. Is it true you have poison in your bite? Yes, it's true. Isn't it marvelous? In one bite, I can paralyze a cricket, and the poison will turn it into a very juicy morsel. Oh, I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. It says here in my notes that you bit the girl that caught you. That girl called Laura Weber? No, I didn't bite her. That's just a rumor. But even if I did, my poison wouldn't do much to her. It would probably just make a sore lump on her skin. But how did the girl find you? Don't you try to stay hidden? Yes, I do, in fact. I had a very nice burrow under a rock on a hillside facing south, where I had lived for 10 years. But I had to leave. You see, it was time for me to look for female tarantulas. And there I was, cruising down the hillside when, from out of nowhere, I'm scooped into a bottle. What a shock! Oh, yes, I'm sure it was. So, Harry, what will you do now? Laura Weber let me go in her backyard, and that turned out to be a good thing. I found quite a lot of females there. It's always a bit scary meeting a female, though. I have to be quick or she'll eat me. But it's all worth it. It's the only way to have 600 little Harrys and Harriettes running around. Well, Harry, I see we're out of time. It's been lovely talking with you, and good luck. Thank you, Katie. It's been my pleasure. And that was Harry the Tarantula. And this is Katie Did with Up Close and Personal on K-Bug Radio. Until next time, goodbye. All right, Alan, I think we need to introduce our guest. Do you want to go ahead and do that for us?
Yes, of course. So many of you might be familiar with the Discovery Center, and we have someone from there today, and it's a name of Curtis, and he's going to introduce us to our tarantula friend.
Hi, everybody. My name is Curtis. I'm just getting gloved up real quick, and we're going to meet our friend Rosie here. Let me just get her out real quick. So let's see if we can get that to focus on her. But this is Rosie. She is our rose hair tarantula. And now you can see if it focuses, she's got a whole bunch of hairs on her. Now, it said something about them throwing their hairs, and that is a big defense that these guys will do because they're very irritating, and that's why I'm wearing gloves. It wouldn't hurt too much, but it would make me itch, just like if I got poison ivy on my hand, and I don't want to be doing that. She's getting all curious this morning. You can see her feeling out with all of those legs. Now, something that's always very fun to do. How many legs do tarantulas have? Everyone knows that one, right? It's 8 legs. But if you sit there and count, you can see she's moving on me. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 legs. Well, I thought they had 8. Well, they do. If you look very closely, those 2 on the front, I'm trying to get that camera to focus for you. She's got 2 special mouth parts that look just like legs, and they can help her shove food right into her mouth after she's caught it and helped bite onto it, and it holds down some of its prey. So next time you see a spider, you have to sit there and think, okay, so 8 legs and 2 special mouthpieces that look like legs. And they also have 2 very special little legs on the back. You can see them curled up almost like a tail. Those are called spinnerets. So tarantulas, just like other spiders, spin webs, or they spin silk, but they don't make big webs to catch their prey. Sometimes they make webbing on the floor. Sometimes they'll make trap doors that they hide behind and pounce on their prey. Some will even just make a net that they carry in their front legs that they can use to catch animals just like you with a butterfly net. So they use it very differently than the spiders in your house. But all of them can still spin their web. And just like in your book, they do have a bite. All of them are poisonous. And that's why I'm wearing these thick gloves as well. I don't want to be bitten. That would hurt, but it wouldn't be too dangerous for me with her. It would kind of be like getting stung by a bee. So nothing that you want to go out and try to do every day, but nothing that's going to be too dangerous. Now, there are some bigger ones that you definitely want to stay away from. And we are going to possibly be getting one of these bigger ones very soon called the Goliath bird-eating spider. And it is a whole lot bigger than Miss Rosie here. So you can kind of see about how big she is compared to my face. The Goliath bird eater would be about the same size as my face. So a lot bigger than she is right now. But she is nice and calm, and we are hoping that he's going to be nice and calm too. Now, a really cool thing to know with the difference between males and females with tarantulas. Males only live about 3 to 5 years. Females can live 25 to 30 years. Huge difference there. And like they said in the book, they can make a whole lot of offspring, hundreds and hundreds at a time. Could you imagine having hundreds of brothers and sisters at one time? That'd make holidays really hard. And everyone trying to get a seat at the table really, really hard. So I know that we're probably going to start having a bunch of questions. Everyone always has questions on Miss Rosie here. So I think we can open that up. I always want to give them enough time for that.
Of course. So if my teachers would like to write their questions in chat, they're more than willing to do so, or more welcome to do so. I'll give you about a minute or so to write your questions in, so we're not interrupting you, and then we'll get started.
There we go. That's a little bit better. So you can see a little bit, she's got a little bit of that rose-colored hair. That's why we call her Rosie.
All right, so the first question we're going to ask is, what does Rosie eat, and about how old is she?
Okay, so Rosie eats crickets, and we don't feed her often. Something that's very different with arthropods than with mammals is they don't eat every day. They don't eat multiple times a day. We feed her about 2 crickets every week. On Fridays, we usually do that. And sometimes we don't feed out if she's going to be shedding. So she can go a little bit of time between food. So think of that. She only eats 2 crickets a week. It's not a lot for us, but it's a lot for her. And she is about 10 years old. So she is got a lot more life to her.
All right. Now, how about for drinking? Do they get thirsty? Where do they get their water from?
Yes, they do. They do get thirsty just like everything else. We do keep a bowl of water in there. They don't drink as much as mammals do, but they still do drink.
We get this question every week, so I have to ask it as well. Would Rosie make a good pet?
So that is a very interesting question. So if you were getting a tarantula, the rose hair tarantula is one of the better ones to get. They are a lot more docile. You can see docile means calm and easy to handle. You can see she's not moving a lot. She's not terribly aggressive. One thing to always look at, and they mentioned it in the book, you can see that she's got a whole lot of hair on the back of her. That means she doesn't get irritated easily. She doesn't throw her hairs a lot. So she's very used to being handled. But I would not say that a tarantula should be your first pet. I would say you'd have to do a lot of research, prove that you can take care of an animal very well before you move on to a tarantula. So she would and wouldn't be a good pet at the same time. I'd say she would need a little bit of experience. Definitely practice on a dog and a cat. Make sure that you can take care of them really well before you start moving on to a spider.
That's a good point to make. Miss Compton's class would like to know, is there a reason why female tarantulas live longer than the males?
They are more important with making more animals, making more tarantulas. So they need to be around longer to produce all those. Because each female can make every year they can make those hundreds and hundreds. So if they can live, 20 to 30 years, they're making way more babies than they would if they lived only 5 years. That's a really good question.
Now in the book, I saw that the tarantula they were talking to, Katie was talking to, was it shed for my last time. Will these tarantulas ever just stop shedding? Is there a final shed?
Not typically. For at least these guys, they shed about once a year now because they are fully grown. Most spiders will shed up to a point. I do know some species do stop shedding from my knowledge, but I do believe that Miss Rosie here will continue to either shed or molt are the two different words that we use. And it's actually pretty interesting when they do molt. They curl all up. It kind of scares you a little bit the first time they ever do that, because when you come into a spider that's all curled up, its legs curled in, you're like, oh no, is Rosie still alive? And usually a little bit later that day, you'll walk in and you'll see that there's two Rosies in her container, because she'll split and she'll just back right out of her skin. So there'll be one dried up one, and we've actually gotten some pretty good molts that look just like a spider. They're just hollow. And then there'll be Miss Rosie running around. So they're a little bit soft when they first molt, and they harden up when they get out of there. If there's any growing to do, that's when they do it right after they molt, because it's easy for us to get new clothes. You just go and you put new clothes on, but their exoskeleton's very hard, so they can't grow while it's still on them. So they kind of have a whole really cool process to growing that's very different than us.
That's a good point to make too. With the museum, we have a spider on display that I didn't even realize that it was a shed. I thought it was just a full, I know it was the molt. It was just so perfectly well done that the molt just has a tiny little nick in its back where the entire tarantula came out of.
Mm-hmm. Ours they usually pop their abdomen, which is the back part here. So usually we'll find that piece separate from everything else.
Oh, okay.
So ours usually do. But it's
now,
different.
Where would you find this type of tarantula out in the wild? Where's its original home range?
This one is from Chile. This is there's two different names. It's a rose hair tarantula or Chilean rose tarantula. So you'd find it in Chile and South America.
All right.
Stop right there between my hands. There we go.
There we go. Now, do tarantulas or spiders in general always have 8 eyes, or is that just a misconception, possibly?
That is a fantastic question that I am not entirely certain on the answer. From my knowledge, I believe they have, for the most part, 8 eyes, but That is something I would have to double check if every single species has it. In my experience, there is always an exception to the rule. There is always going to be some sort of a species that makes you never want to say all species, all tarantulas, all spiders, all birds.
What
Oops,
about the
sorry, did I breathe?
benefit of having multiple eyes? Is there a benefit to having multiple eyes?
Now, she's got very different eyes than we would think of when we're seeing. So one thing she'd be able to see, she's got a little bit better of a range. With the compound eyes, I'm sorry, I'm breathing on you. So I'm gonna try to back up. I'm spooking her with my breath. Um, they help her see movements better than with ours two eyes. And that is the whole point of the tarantula's game, is to see movements, because they are an active hunting species. So a lot of the ones that you see at home with the spider webs, they are ambush species. But these guys are active hunters. That's why you see a lot of wolf spiders. They name them that because they actively hunt like wolves. Same thing with the tarantulas. So all those eyes are going to help them see their prey better and track them down.
Are tarantulas decent at swimming? Does that ever come into their hunting factor?
That so there are spiders that would spend some time in the water. The one that I know of is not actually a tarantula. It is called a diving bell spider, and it lives underwater. What it does is it spins a web underwater, a very, very tight web, and then it brings little bubbles of air down into that web and keeps them in a bubble under the water that it can then go back into and breathe and eat no problem, then go hunting underwater again. But there are no tarantulas that do that. They typically don't live in places that would have a lot of standing water. They would live in the rainforest, but not by the rivers and such. So they'd be used to water, but not swimming.
All right. What would be Rosie's preferred hunting method? Is she a digger underground, or how would Rosie hunt?
So she is a straight chasing it down. Once she would have a series of web lines put around. I'm sorry, that was you guys can see she is very sensitive. All those hairs are sensory organs as well. So what she keeps feeling is a puff of breath every once in a while. That's why she keeps jumping. Um, she would have that series of webs all around. So it'd be very similar to um, the typical spiders that you see in your house, except instead of them hoping that it gets stuck, all hers are going to do is tell her, hey, there's something over there. And then she's going to run out and chase it down as fast as she can.
With all that movement around, do tarantulas sleep very much? How would they sleep?
So they don't sleep in the same way that we do. They go through rest periods and active periods. They're kind of always alert and ready for their food. But one really interesting thing that we have here at the museum that's a little bit different than you would think, we have a different light on their enclosure than the rest of our animals. We have a whole nocturnal room here that we have them reversed. So we have, when we leave here at night, we turn on the white lights like it's daytime. And when we come in the morning, we switch it over to the blue lights like it's nighttime. However, with the tarantulas, we have red lights on theirs all the time because they don't see the red spectrum. So to them, their enclosures are completely dark. For us, we get a red light and we can see them and we can see their activity and all. So it's a best of both worlds, where we're not disturbing them, but we can still see them, because we used to have them in just dark and we'd have to shine a flashlight in there to see what they were doing. This makes it
Speaking of
much easier.
which, how might the students see Rosie in person?
So we have her on display in our nocturnal room for Miss Rosie here at the Discovery Center. We also, and this is good for the teachers, we are doing, we do virtual field trips where we do animal encounters. We've had those be very popular in the past. Sorry, I know I puffed on you again. Um, so you'd be able to set that up with our website so you guys can see a whole lot more of our animals, or coming on down and visiting us from Tuesday to Saturdays or when we're open. And we have more than just Miss Rosie. We actually have 5 tarantulas right now, hoping to get a few more of them because our upcoming exhibit is actually all about arthropods. And now arthropods are insects. So all the different flying insects, flies, butterflies, dragonflies. There are also centipedes and millipedes, tarantulas, crabs, and lobsters. Yeah, if you guys eat some of those shellfish, you're eating bugs. So if you guys like shrimp, you've eaten a relative of a bug. Or you can go down to chili, which is a little bit harder to do. As fun as that would be, though.
All right. Well, guys, I know this has been a fantastic creature feature with Curtis from the Discovery Center and, of course, Rosie. So thank you very, very much, Curtis and Rosie. And teachers, remember, if you have your students fill out any part of that handout, the front, the back, whatever, we'd love to see it. And we'd love to give you a shout out at our next creature feature. And if some of your other teachers at your school want to join us at 1 o'clock, we will be back on at 1 o'clock. All right, and just in case you didn't see, the website is mydiscoverycenter.org, where you can learn more about their virtual field trips. Anything else, Alan? Did I miss? All right, thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Hi, guys.
Thanks, Curtis. Thanks, Rosie.